Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the conference. As it says here, Excellence in Research. It is organized by the Estonian Academy of Sciences, Estonian Research Council, as you see here written, and also by the Council of the Estonian Centers of Excellence in Research. And certainly, as you see there from the logos in the corner there, supported by the European Union, that's the structural funds. That's really very important, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome you all here. Today we have the two sessions, and tomorrow morning then we shall continue, and that will be then a keynote lecture by Ristenäinen, who really is expert in how to foster excellence and how to maintain it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we shall start now in this way for first the opening and then the presentations. For presentations, we reserved about half an hour, but we hope that we are not so very tough in all these counting the minutes, and then we try to really mostly to go on and to know to learn and experience from the very experienced speakers. And may I ask now for the opening the Minister of Education and Research Estonia, Professor Jaak Aaviksoo. Jaak, floor is yours.
Dear organizers, ladies and gentlemen, I have the feeling that most of us, if not all of us, believe in excellence in science. We definitely think it's a good thing to be excellent. Personally, institutionally, nationwide, and as Europeans, how it stands for 20 years already, let us make Europe the most successful and competitive knowledge-based economy in the world. That basically is also about excellence. However, standing a little bit away from the position of a researcher or a scientist, or even a representative of a research organization or research community, looking in a somewhat broader perspective from the point of view of national or European interests, research excellence becomes much more blurred. Because I think it's responsible, especially in a democratic society, to ask excellence for what? Excellence, yes. But since we have to understand research in the political sense as a public good, we have to be able to answer to the question how research excellence contributes to more public good. How does research excellence make our life better? All of us, every citizen in a way. And this question is not an easy question to answer. We've seen or witnessed a growth of researchers and research activities over the last 50 to 60 years. This is what we call the emergence of knowledge-based economies or societies. And that, of course, means that there are more and more people who are engaged in research. Purely statistically or demographically, the number of truly excellent people seen throughout the society, one way or the other, I'm not going into details how to measure it, it must be some kind of a weighted average. The average potential for producing excellence per capita or per researcher is going down for objective reasons as far as I can calculate. Is it good or bad? How to tackle? What is an acceptable level of non-excellence? Of course, we have an ideal that excellence is objective, absolute value. But in practice, when we measure it, when we compare whether something is excellence or not, we, for practical reasons, use a relative scale. So excellence is relative. The excellence is distributed somehow, like income in a society. And most of us know that there is a measure of unequal distribution of wealth. And the most widespread formula for that, or indicator, is the Gini coefficient. That's the unequal distribution of wealth. Different societies have different Gini coefficients, starting from very unequal with a Gini coefficient more than 50% or more than 0.5, with the pretty equal societies like in Northern Europe, where the coefficient lies around 0.2, 0.25. Estonia stands somewhere in the middle with roughly 1.32. If we apply the same coefficient to excellence, is there an optimum? Shall we look for more concentration of resources to really the top guys, universities, institutions, or shall we look after a more equal distribution of excellence? It's a political decision. And most probably, we agree that the equilibrium position, wherever it lies, is not necessarily, at least, a position that says excellence is the ultimate objective value. So, the complicated point is about where the balance should be. The second issue I'd want to discuss a little bit is democracy. To what extent is the concept of promotion and awarding of excellence compatible with the principle of democracy? Democracy is a decision-making mechanism which basically means that all the decision makers are equal in their votes. And the most crucial question, as usual, is to whom we apply this decision-making power. Shall we limit ourselves to the model of ancient Greek, where the number of persons who enjoyed the right to be part of the democratic part of the society was rather limited? Shall there be a census based on wealth, age, experience, gender, or previous track record of being excellent oneself? This is a growing concern in modern societies. The classical track record is not very democratic, as at least general public understands democracy in modern societies. Shall we keep to this model, or shall we relax a little bit, broaden the base of democracy? I don't know, but the pressure is clearly there. more excellence. Is it clear to us that if we push for more excellence on all levels, every moment, from the very early age to more mature researchers, do we actually produce more excellence by putting this pressure of being successful in the sense of producing excellent outputs? Or this is not necessarily the case. We know that from sports. This is a delicate balance of pushing for performance and a much more subtle and unconscious approach based on Fingerspitzengefühl. How far we can push a sportsman to achieve best possible results. Shall we trust him or herself in the decision making, the speed, the commitment? How often shall we check his performance, so on and so forth? I already switched to a concept of efficiency. Efficiency in the sense of the narrow academic community who assesses their own performance, the performance of researchers in a country or in a university, how good they are, what their output is, whether they are producing enough potential Nobel Prize winners, or the other way around, do they cover the academic area they are responsible for in an acceptable way? The efficiency is about relating inputs to outputs. Also in the case of research excellence. So trying to make my introductory address a little bit shorter, I'd summarize, telling or saying that what I do believe in, and not only in the case of research excellence, but actually serving any values, is nothing in this world is absolute. It's always about a delicate balance between different values. And no single one should be played too high. And those of you in this auditorium who may remember the old days of Soviet Union, there was an excellent movie. And part of that was an anecdote, which I think is inappropriate. And I'm sorry for presenting that first in Russian. I'll give you a translation later. Жила-была однажды одна маленькая, но очень гордая птичка. И она решила, что я лично буду подниматься прямо на солнце. И только как у нее росли крылья, она стала подниматься все выше и выше и выше и выше и выше, почти достигая солнца, но, к сожалению, солнце обожгло у нее крылья, и она упала в глубину самого глубокого ущелья. Так выпьем за то, что как высоко мы бы ни поднялись, мы никогда не оторвались от коллектива. In an English translation, it says there was once a small and a proud bird who thought and decided herself that I'm personally going to fly as high as possible. And she decided to fly to the sun. So she started to fly higher and higher and higher and higher. And in the end, the sun burned her wings and she fell into the depth of the deepest canyon. So let us raise our glasses to the saying that however high we fly, we should never break a connection to the broader community. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the discussion on excellence in research is very, very appropriate. In my country, Estonia, but also in the modern civilization in a broader sense. I hope you have a broad scope of discussions. And there is always a component of understanding that everything we do in science and research, there are our compatriots, broader community outside of science, who are looking at us and expected that we behave in a responsible and mutually beneficial way. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, let me open this seminar on excellence in research. Thank you.
Estonian Academy of Sciences, Richard Willems, also to take our words.
Your Excellency, Minister, excellent scientists and colleagues, I guess, of course. Usually when the government is, sometimes presidency is using this wonderful place here for state dinner sometimes, and then when I need to introduce myself, I'm telling that I am the landlord here. We are going to speak today, well, to hear today lots about excellence in science, and it's most of you follow nature, science, and so on. You have seen that recently, during the last few years, and just by chance, obviously, previous week, nature is dedicated to something what is called excellence, how to measure excellence. And while there are much wider aspects of that, and nature specifically emphasizes that there is a small, in words, but rather important addition to all kind of grant proposals, both in Europe, in United States and elsewhere, what ask actually scientists not only to describe in their grant proposals their aims from, in my case, how many milliliters you just put from one test tube to another and so on, and how long you shake afterwards, but also to explain to evaluators what is the larger meaning, what is the societal meaning and so on of your research. How does it influence specifically education, but also much wider goals. Education is probably the primarily. And that is, and there seems to be rather interesting addition, a little bit dangerous probably in Estonia, but they think, some countries think that it's quite wise to include into the evaluation boards people outside of science, but on the broader understanding of the society. They have one vote out of many, so it's not really that dangerous, but as it might seem in some societies. But I think it's something both indicative and probably very, very, very important to consider also here. What else? in this introduction. Much of the discussion, probably unfortunately, but it nevertheless tells you that that is evergreen topics, is discussion about peer review and how to perform just and decent peer review, how many reviewers per proposal and so on. These are technicalities what are really very important. I'm not arguing that they are just waste of time. The good term of reference for reviewers and for just those who apply for money, that is certainly necessary. But sometimes, and I think it's very well known, but not emphasized always, that let's go and let's think about the last Nobel Prize winners. The last year, John Gordon got the Nobel Prize for experiment. He's just exactly 80. He did this experiment when he was 25 years old. 3 years after that, he repeated it in a better way. That is a transplantation of the growing a adult frog, in this case, from somatic cell, using somatic cell nucleus. Now this paper, I checked just from Google, is cited, well, not enormously, but still very reasonably, 3,000 times. But during the first 10 years, it was hardly cited. I mean, look to Higgs boson, the two people who got the Nobel Prize, specifically Peter Higgs. This is a Nature paper from 64. The first 7 years, there was not really silence, but you see, there have been many theories just popping out like universes in very modern theories, what actually are also old theories. Linde, I think, proposed it already long ago. And only then, thanks to somebody else solves a couple of mathematical problems, it became really more visible. It led to the convincing the societies, the countries, to devote billions and billions to build this collider and so on, and now eventually there is a Nobel Prize. So that means that indeed much wider understanding of the meaning of the evaluation of science impact should be taken, because we can see not on only these two examples, but many examples that we can't really predict the real excellence. And I think we have now 1.5 days to hear different opinions, but I also hope that we don't go to technicalities and we'll just try to help also Estonian scientific community to understand the meaning of the very deep meaning of the very complex term excellence. All the best.
Allow me now a couple of words for the introduction. Thank you, Minister. Well, Government is not such an easy business, as you all know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 22nd of October today. And we started this conference actually today for a very simple reason. 75 years ago, on the 22nd of October, 1938, there was an official launching of the Estonian Academy of Sciences. So this is now the second conference, just to mark this event. But certainly, I'm not going to speak about this history, but what we do here now, it's to speak about the excellence in research, also a couple of these opinions, what the Minister and the President of the Academy have already explained. And we have rather many such kind of documents. Aarhus Declaration, for example, from the last year. OECD has been thinking about the problems. Lero has actually communicated several papers on excellence. German Excellence Initiative from the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft. Then Royal Swedish Academy. Again, we are going to listen to this talk. And so on and so on. So there are really many people thinking about the excellence. There are a couple of key words like trust and freedom and then creative and dynamic research environments and recognizing talents. That's important. That was exactly that what Richard Willems just now has mentioned. And then certainly beyond that, the cross disciplines. Leopoldina from Germany has mentioned that the basic funding is important, excellence initiative is important, and certainly interdisciplinarity. So that, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many problems here, and certainly that we are very pleased that also that we run this program for Centers of Excellence. So the first program was from 2001 to 2007. Funded by the state budget. Now we have used structural funds, so this program is going on. Estonian Centers of Excellence in Research, there is a small booklet that the speakers will also get it. And then later we learn a lot about the activities of these centers. So with these words, I would like now to come to the program, and I would like now to ask the first speaker. It's Professor Gunnar Öqvist from the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, and he's going to speak about the special review and analysis which was carried on quite recently. So, Gunnar, floor is yours.